I'm Donna Milgram, Executive Director and founder of the National Institute for Women in Trades, Technology, and Science. And our guests today are Tim Tewalt, Program Director and founder of Mechatronics Training at Chippewa Valley Technical College in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, a rural community, and Nate Boden, an instructor in the Mechatronics Training Program. Welcome to both of you. Now, I ran into Tim at the Hi-Tec Conference in Kansas City this summer, and he told me that his mechatronics program went from only one or two female students each semester to a third after he participated in our WomenTech Educators online training in fall of 2020. So I asked him to do this podcast so we could all learn exactly what works. And so I want to again welcome Tim and Nate, and thank you for joining me for our very first WomenTech Educators video podcast. Now, I want to start out by asking you, I know mechatronics is a very male-dominated area, and I'm sure everybody listening wants to know how you did it. Can you tell us what were the biggest changes that you made in how you recruit?
Well, I'll start this and I'll segue to Nate. One of the things you helped us with is understanding how we're messaging things. So you can say things like, are you technically inclined? Do you like working with your hands? Or you say, do you like solving puzzles? Because troubleshooting equipment is all about solving puzzles, making sense out of chaos. That's a much general statement that opens to a lot of people. And Nate, can you tell, we had a pneumatic system and you related it to a video game that was common at the time, how doors open and close. What was that video? Mind something.
It was Minecraft. Actually, they have a movie coming out with Minecraft. So yeah, it's very big right now.
And then how did you relate that when we were at a high school and some people were coming by the booth?
Right. Well, in Minecraft, you're able to make a bunch of objects move by sending redstone dust to different connectors. These are all elements that are built into the game. So a lot of students are playing this game and it's wildly popular. So when we're having events and conventions, I'm able to relate what they're doing in Minecraft exactly to what we're doing in the mechatronics field. So it makes me really interested and excited to get into it.
So like a trapdoor opening and closing is driven by like a air cylinder, which we're showing them. And they're like, wow. So that's the first thing. We try to make the message be very engaging and open to whoever we're talking to. And then their curiosity drives it, that Nate's very good at it to all of us, really at telling them, well, those are the kind of skills you need.
So making the messaging engaging is so important. And, as you know, that's one of the things that I really spent a lot of time focusing on in the recruitment training. Now, would you be willing to tell on yourself and describe what you did before you came to the training and so that we can see the difference?
Nate, why don't you tell how we classically were set up at open house and how we helped change that?
So one of the big obstacles we were having was foot traffic. When we would organize our events in our open houses, we would group a bunch of male-dominated industry trades together: machine tool, make design, being a lineman, all of these male-dominated tool careers we put next to each other, and all of the industries that were very female-dominated, dental hygienist, culinary, all of those fields we kept in a separate area. So then all of the women would see only women in a specific department and just stay there. And it really limited our ability to reach out and get them and show them what we can offer them. We changed that around. So now we have more availability to reach out and let somebody know about an industry that they didn't consider before.
Yeah, and so we stopped having it organized. We were one of the booths really fighting, no, I don't want to be in the manufacturing area. Put me by cosmetology, put me by business. And it's like going to a store that's all mixed. You see things you never would have seen, and then you're more interested. Or if you're the one, yeah, I'll just use myself. One of the careers I really wanted to do out of high school, I could type like the wind. I loved longhand, all the office machines. I wanted to be an executive secretary, but all those were women-based far more, you know. And so it takes a lot more, our ego, our thought to put ourselves in a odd crowd, to be the only one that doesn't fit. So that really helped because then it was just natural. If you wanted to see cosmetology, you also had to see mechatronics. You also had to see, you know, some science things. And by mixing it, that really helped. That they got curious because they would just start with, one things I love about women's brains versus men brains is they ask a lot more questions. What is that? Why would anybody want it? Men's brains, I'm supposed to know that, so I'm just going to be quiet because I don't want to embarrass myself. I think it's a funny societal thing, but I had one student, 27, when we were pulling apart a lathe, has this round gear that drives this linear thing. That's called rack and pinion. He goes, finally, I know what that is. He's been bluffing it all through high school because you just can't ask. You also can't see it too easy on a car. You know, it's sealed, but so that was one of the big things, getting the layout much different.
So I have to say, that's brilliant. And I want to ask you, is this a career fair that you hosted at the college? Was this a career fair someone else hosted that you participated in?
Well, we have career fairs multiple times a year, and we have open houses, I believe, at least twice a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. These are annual events, and they're usually very popular.
So these are hosted by your college, and you requested from the organizer, don't put us with all of the male traditionally male dominated career pathways, put us in the female area, or did they mix it up overall?
It was pushing rope up a hill. And when we do a lot of other things, there's career ventures, there's local high schools, and in the same way, we force ourselves not to be next to our partners. The other thing too is I'm selling spatulas, I'm selling Pampered Chef, I'm selling EchoWare. Well, if you go down that line, you're confused because they all look the same-ish. So if you make it much more in a random buffet, then it catches your eye a different way because you think you just saw the same thing, but you didn't. Quality, different purposes, specialties. So having that, in fact, I want to relay our one little offshoot. When we renamed the program to Mechatronics, we were going to have a tech diploma and associate degree. And I asked all my counterparts, all my guys teaching, and they knew the specialist had to be the diploma and the technician would be the associate degree. Because when we went to school 20 years ago, technician was the height. That's interesting. I took some of what you taught us down. I started asking all these different women, all the moms. And you know what they said? Well, when I go to the doctor, if they can't handle it, they send me to a specialist. So we made the associate degree, the specialist, and the technician, the diploma. By understanding how different people perceive things, in this case, women, it made a huge impact because most women, uniquely, if I'll generalize, they like to see what the top is. They may make intermediate steps, but, well, I want to get on a path that can get me to be a specialist. I don't want to close my door. And that worked really well to understand words change over time or their meanings. Just like engineer used to be a very tiny word back in, early 60s, 70s. That had a very narrow scope. And now it's used in a lot more type of problem solving.
Wow, that is so fascinating that you identified that women would perceive the specialist to be the better degree to get. And then you changed that and it made a difference for recruitment. That is
Well, and to
brilliant.
be clear, I didn't perceive it. They told me. They just told me.
But
'Cause,
you
well,
asked,
I did,
that.
right. Yeah. A benefit of growing up with 5 sisters. So my brain's a little bit, well, Nate will tell you my brain's really different, but it's a wee bit different.
So, we've heard about, 2 recruitment strategies, 3 really. Number 1, making sure whether you were hosting a career fair or open house, or you were going to someone else's, like the high schools, that you were in the female areas. Number 1. Number 2, really trying to engage the students, like using a video game as an example. And then number 3, just even changing around the name of the degree and certificate itself to reflect what would be more sought after. What other types of recruitment strategies did you use, and they were changes from what you had done before?
Nate, I'll let you
one
start.
in, Tim. So another thing that I think we picked up on that was really, really important was representation. When I finished high school, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had an uncle that was a math teacher, and I decided to study math because I knew that he did it and he was successful. People tend to do what they see other people doing. So, for instance, with those open houses or recruitment events, if you see an event where there's only men or men of a certain color or of a certain minority or what have you, then you think that it's for them and not for you. And so by showing representation, by showing people that they can do this and other women are also doing this, other people that look like you are doing this, I think it really helps them find a way to get the courage to try a new industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious to know, how did you show them?
Well, one of the ways we did, we had quite a few women in the program. Loria had been, she's about, I'm going to guess 35. She had worked a lot of assembly type work or production. And that's not for a lot, that's not the most glorious thing. And then she looked over and see these. So in production, your numbers are measured. How many units can you do? But in maintenance, we just sit around. And the one boss said it well. They would prefer if their maintenance people were all drinking coffee because that means everything's running. So we set the schedule by priority, what needs to be done. There's PMs, but we don't have that by the unit. And she saw they were much less stressed, got paid better, and that's what got Loria into it. Hannah also, Hannah Werner, same way. She had been working around it at a production facility and saw like, wow, there's this whole career. So then we bring those people to open house, our grads, they'll come off, their employers will let them go, and we'll bring HR people that are female and hiring or have worked on the line, and they say what a great career this is. So that was a big thing. We always make sure we have either students or grads that are part of that booth.
Awesome. That is one of the key strategies, being able to have female role models. Now, I know that you also held some events initially where you focused on women in mechatronics. Are you still doing those? Did those have any success for you?
Oh yeah. One of the events that we did to show the community and help influence women to join STEM careers was the Get in Gear, or the Girls in Motion event, where we had moms and daughters build RC cars at CVTC. I find it to be incredibly useful to help instill these career skills at a young age, because then they know when they get older that they can do these skills. One of the really imperative things that we did is when we pitched the ideal for the mother and daughter RC car event, it's for both moms and their daughters, because we want to recruit the mothers as well. There's a lot of mothers who are interested in joining one of these careers. And by doing one of these events with their children, it shows them that they can also do it too.
Yeah, and that is so important because, you know, of course, when I work with you, my emphasis is to help you have numbers like within a year's time, and many schools have them in less time. And when you're doing the daughters, and I don't know what age that was, but it sounds like they were younger, you know, maybe middle school. Obviously,
Middle
they're not
school, yes.
be enrolling anytime soon. But the brilliance of what you did is that you did the mothers and daughters. So you, on the one hand, did what I call career awareness, which does not result in enrollment in a year's time for your plan. But because you did it with the mothers who could enroll, then you could get the enrollment there. So you're doing enrollment, recruitment for actual enrollment with career awareness for the long term at the same time. I think that's brilliant. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and we plan on doing it this fall also.
Yeah.
Well, and also the the parent is much more savvy to what do you mean they start after 40 weeks making 25 to 30 bucks an hour, and there's no heavy math, there's no prereqs, there's no homework. Everything's done within the program. And then to tie into the world we live in, or it's at least much more amount, the single parent, the single dad, the single mom, the working person with these realities. As you recall, the Mechatronics program at CVTC is totally flexible. It has a morning cohort, afternoon, evening, and a second location. You can take one course to full-time load at any time. During the semester, if your boss says, hey, we're doing shutdown and you need to change your shift, they can come at the other hours. So we've made a system that really fits well. And boy, that was a big thing for women who had kids. And we also have an open policy. You want to bring your kid to school anytime. And we will find things for them to do or make allocation. Even if that's the legal thing, which it is in Wisconsin, we make sure they don't even want to think that way. But certainly bring your kids and we'll set them up on a computer. We'll be doing whatever they want to draw. We've got colored markers. I mean, the ages vary, right?
Yep.
And we don't have a lab where a lot of things are, there's no grinding, there's no drilling. So we don't have things where we have a big safety concern. And if we did, we would, well, every parent would understand and say, well, let's have them work over here. But it's been really successful keeping that very openness.
Yeah, I remember that was one of the things I was very impressed by, which is that you were running at multiple times, 3 different times. And that really opens the pipeline for everyone. And it also enables those who are already working in manufacturing, but maybe not in, an advanced track like mechatronics, that are maybe in a more entry level type of position without the same opportunities. They're of course doing shift work. So now they have the opportunity to take your class at different times. But as you point out, it also has implications, making it easier for single parents, be they women or men. So it's really a family-friendly policy to have your courses running at different times. Now, I know that when we were chatting right before we started, you also mentioned that you have overall greater diversity of students. And maybe you could share again about some of the differences of what you did before versus what you did now, and just talk about the diversity of students. I know, Nate, that you mentioned showing people of color and as well as women. Could you maybe just talk about your overall diversity of your student population now, and if that's changed?
Yes. So in our student population, what we notice are clusters. We'll have clusters of diverse students that come in at different times. In the morning, There are students that are used to coming in as high school students, so they follow that tradition of it. They're younger students, and they come in early in the morning. They want to get their work done earlier in the week as soon as they can, so they can have a longer weekend if they're able to. Meanwhile, in the evening, you'll have you'll have students that have a commute or already work full-time, and they're trying to increase their skill set. And so they might be an older population, more diverse, different ethnicities, age ranges, military or civilian. That there's a large range that happens within our students.
And
Great.
Nate, I'll just add to that, after teaching a lot of things and really looking at curriculum, we now use the same course for whether it's high school, apprenticeship, program, business industry, upskilling, because, people would love to think all I need is 3 hours of teaching and then I'd be fixed. Usually it's a lot of, I never learned the basics well, I never learned all of this, and I need some time. And so having that intermixed group is really neat, because you'll have 18-year-old and 50-year-olds working together on problems, and they're trading off. One knows one tip, one knows another. And we treat, I guess the other thing I would say, unique about our program, we got to ask why we're one of the high 3 programs in retention. We know everybody's name. We know their world. Whatever they've shared with us, we know. So that's different than a class of 400 and doing a big lecture hall. You don't know those names and you don't know the connections. Also, one other thing, Don, I want to say that changed in the program under me and continues. Whatever reason you're absent for, doesn't matter. Well, was your child sick? Was your car broke? Did you need to get drunk and really have a great time? Are you just lazy? When you come, we're ready to teach you. And that puts pressure so low, because I learned to call those are all distractions. We don't have to validate the distraction. They're real. It takes time away. And sometimes about what, Nate, week 3, we'll talk to them and say, Donna, I've noticed you're only making it in about 50% of the time. Let's look at adjusting your schedule so you can achieve what you want. And they go, we can do that. And then they're at the right, what we would call academically, the right credit load, rather than, well, I'm just going to be gung-ho. I've watched Tony Robbins and every success person, and I want to take 200 credits this semester. And then they just have this, they're succeeding. And if they're succeeding, they just go to more.
Yeah. And I realize, I was remiss because I just, jumped right in, tell us about your strategies, et cetera. I haven't really given you the opportunity to talk about what kind of jobs students get from your program, and how long is the program, and what kind of salaries do they make, and, and what kind of, career trajectory do they have, and what's the labor market like? So I'll ask all those questions now.
Hey, Nate, let me take the degree and then you talk about the jobs.
Sure.
So under Mechatronics, we have 4 programs. Within the Mechatronics specialists, that's the 2-year path. We call that's really when you get all the credits done, because it can be done, since we're year round, it can be done shorter than that. But then you go down in credits. We have what we call a 1-year or 40-week, the Mechatronics technician. But the first semester, 3 of its courses make the mechanical maintenance, and that will let you get into the work field. That's 10 credits. Second semester, which you can take out of order, we got rid of as many prereqs as we could. You can take the electrical maintenance. So you have mechanical maintenance, electrical maintenance. Those are all embedded courses that exist in the technician and then the specialist program. So you can go as short as 1 semester and have a degree. And Nate, what have the jobs been? What are they? Tell us about the type of jobs and places.
Right. I'm excited to be able to tell this. This is the part that I get to brag the most about. One of the great things that they do at CVTC is they track the average salaries of different programs in the campus, and they just finished tracking the average salaries of the 2024-2025 school year. And in the mechatronics program, we have the highest average salary of anywhere else in the campus. Yeah, it goes over just over $70,000 starting for people on average joining one of these career fields. And we have 100% placement rate in our program too. So if women are interested in these programs, they are paying and then they are hiring people left and right. We struggle to find enough people to fill these jobs with.
Wow. Did I understand you said starting salary on average is 70,000? That's with an associate's degree or a certificate or both?
With the specialist, you get an associate's included.
So with the associates, which is 2 years if you went full time, although most people go part time, you can come out and make 70,000. And you're in a very rural part of Wisconsin, as I understand. Is that right?
Yes.
And so, like, just what is an average home cost there? Just because we have a national audience, so that people have some idea.
What would you say, Tim? You've been in the area.
Yeah, I would say right now the average home is about 225.
Okay, 225,000, just to give some sense, you know.
Yeah.
So, I would imagine in your area, 70,000 to start with the 2-year degrees, probably really good, you know.
Oh, it's very good. I mean, yeah. And it's the other thing which we know this term of outsourcing, right? You send it to another country. No, there's a huge part called rural sourcing. And so we have Nestle, Bush Beans, one of their 2 facilities. We have Menards. We have a lot of things we don't know that exist called supply chain, like distribution centers for FedEx, for DHL, et cetera. And their equipment is amazing. They need very skilled people to do it, Walmart distribution centers. And tons of other people who make parts that we don't understand, that they make this one part for the mirror, the one part for the window, motors, custom motors. So that's filled throughout this. What do we have? 11 counties, something like 8,000 square miles, 11. So we've got a lot of diversity of manufacturers and producers of products. And some of that too, even people with the 1 year will get those same type of offers. It's amazing.
That is amazing. And you still have jobs, entry-level jobs that are going unfilled.
Yes.
I have a feeling that there may be, although this podcast is primarily aimed at educators, it goes not only in our newsletter that goes out to about 6,000, also goes onto our blog, so anybody can read it. And there might be people that might be moving to your community after seeing this podcast. I mean, that's amazing. And getting those offers when they haven't even finished. Wow. Now, I know that there's going to be educators watching who say, okay, well, you implemented all these strategies, after the WomenTech training, but you probably had a big grant to help you with the recruitment. How much did it cost you to implement these strategies?
We did have a grant when we hired, we brought on IWT, your group to help us understand. That was really a smaller amount, I guess I would say, when people say grant money. All that was just by the department.
Mm-hmm.
Our general marketing department is pulled in many directions, so they weren't able, or usually can't, arm up for everything because they've got, I don't know, what do we have, Nate? 70, 80 programs at the college?
Easily.
So that's certainly understandable. But once we as a department made this what we do and had that training, it didn't cost money. We had some in duplicating public, a flyer we give out, but that all fit within the normal budget. We never increased our budget for it. We just shifted this as a priority of things to do.
So there wasn't additional funds spent beyond coming to the training. It's just a different way of doing business and a different focus is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that's really a clear way. Nate, would you add anything?
Yes, the only other funding I would say are the events that we put on to put awareness out that these programs are out here and are available to women around the area.
Well, like the mother-daughter event, is that a big cost associated with that mother-daughter event that you mentioned?
There's no cost to it. You sign up for it and you can come to it. We have a certain amount of spots that are available for people that are interested in doing it. This last summer where we did the mother-daughter event, it was only mother-daughter event. This summer, I think we're opening it up to everyone though. But it
Okay.
is still encouraged for women to come into the program as well.
And is that an expensive event for your program to run?
It can be the RC cars in that event. Not only do we teach the students how to change the gearing on it and replace parts on it, but we also give them a brand new car to take home as well. So that's all the cost that the college takes on.
Okay, so that comes out of your regular program budget. You're able to cover that from your regular program budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Otherwise, there's some grants that may have a participant activity, and then our grant manager will look for those to be able to fund it and rope that in.
Yes.
So ATE is so excellent on wanting ways that people participate and people get involved in STEM areas. And so it was a really good fit there as well.
And for our listeners, ATE is National Science Foundation's Advanced Technology Education Program, which focuses on two-year colleges and technician training. So, and that was your initial funding, was through NSF ATE.
Yep.
And you must have a current grant, I'm going to guess. Do you have a current grant? I saw you at Hi-Tec, doesn't necessarily mean that you have a grant, I realize.
Well, Nate's on a grant right now.
Yes, we've applied for an NSF grant that has to do with AI and predictive maintenance on machinery. I believe right now that in our program, we are currently working on 3 other grants, but I could not tell you what they are right now.
Well, the AI and predictive maintenance sounds really exciting. I hope that you get that. That'd be a very exciting area for women to be a part of. So in closing, if you had to give one piece of advice to other educators that are trying to increase the number of female students in their manufacturing programs or STEM programs in general that are male dominated, what would that one piece of advice be to those educators?
Nate, go ahead, and then I'll do mine.
I would say start early, that the earlier you're able to send to the female populace that they're able to do these careers and how valuable they are for them and how useful it is, the more it's instilled in them and the more confidence they have to go and make this terrific, learn this terrific skill set for themselves.
Great. Okay.
And the other thing Donna, I would add, when you're talking with someone, and this is good for anyone, don't use technical terms. So when you turn that steering wheel, there's a doohickey in your car that makes the wheel go this way. And then when you show them something like that, well, and they call this thing this, but I like to call it a doohickey, so that it's approachable, because if you share everything and make me feel ignorant and dumb, then I'm just going to back up and go away. But if you, oh yeah. And so keep your language very approachable, because it really helps them go a little bit further in piquing their interest.
Great advice from both Nate and Tim. The whole podcast, wow, I just have to say, I am so impressed with what both of you have done to increase the number of women and diversity of your students. I picked up some new strategies, which of course I will share with others via this podcast
Yeah.
in the trainings that I do. I'm so happy I ran into you, Tim, at Hi-Tech. I
Yes.
to see both of you at ATE. I will also be doing a presentation there with Community College of Philadelphia, the chair of their automotive, the transportation technology department. Thank you both again. I really appreciate this, and I really enjoyed our time together. I know that our those who are watching are going to enjoy it as well. Thank you so much.
You bet, Donna. Thank you as well.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.